When you come up with an essence, like we're all about trust, we're all about agreement, we're all about legacy, we're all about whatever we think our product ultimately is about, we need to be experts in that. We need to make the finest distinctions in that, because that's what's going to make us stand out from the competition.
You're listening to Getting It Wrong to Get It Right.
Clarity in a business should be like a compass to guide it in the right direction. Daniel, is there enough clarity? What's your thoughts?
This is one of those questions that can seem a little amorphous and vague. And that's really the point, is when you happen on something through your market research, through your testing, through the feedback that you're getting, through your sessions of strategy, when you determine a particular focus, an essence, a part of your brand, it isn't enough to simply put it out there. The question has to be how to make it clearer and clearer. For example, we were recently doing market research with an app in its early stages of development. It's had a lot of years of research behind it before it got turned into an app. And the inventor had a handful of people that were using it in early testing. And we did some interview with some of the initial users. And one of them told me that as a result of using the app, they felt more confident about their health choices. It's a health-related app. And through that understanding, we were then able to go, wow, does this app actually help people feel more confident? And once we found something of interest like that, we began to really clarify why she felt more confident, what gave her that sense, what she did with that confidence that was different than before. And then we were able to build some communications, marketing, research templates around finding out whether that individual who experienced more confidence was out of the norm or whether it was something that was normal, but people hadn't really expressed it before. And so I began doing market research with other people and said to them, this other user said they felt more confident. What do you think about that? And they would go, that's right, I do. I actually do feel more confident. And so the clarity that came around asking each one of them why they then, once we brought this to their attention, why they felt more confident, gave us a whole other aspect about how to frame the communication around the real benefit of the app. Because before that, our client was sort of explaining the features and benefits and why there's an advantage over a Fitbit or a this or a that. But starting the conversation out on that piece of essential clarity began to organize the communication for what followed and gave people the vested interest, even when they'd never used the app before, because the moment we could talk about maybe perhaps feeling more confident might be yielded out of using the app, we have people really more excited to use it. And we could take that example and apply it to almost anything. If you've determined that you're spending, let's say, 80% on service and 20% on sales, and you determine you want to shift that from 80% to service to 60% and 40% on sales, that's a little piece of clarity that you've just gained. And then you want to start asking that question, what can we do to really make the most out of that 40%? And what can we do to make that 60% that we're spending on service far more integrated with the sales process? And this is where clarity becomes a ever-defining specificity around some essential value, benefit, or aspect of what it is that you're selling.
Yeah, I would agree. And the devil is in the detail. With clarity, you'd be surprised the amount of organizations that we've worked with that aren't clear on their messaging. They aren't clear on what they do. I've learned it's a gut feeling as well that when a company goes through the process of identifying all the key issues that we spoke about, especially about their essence, understanding the customers, how to package their product, how to promote it, how to sell, and how to upscale, when they find that clarity, everything changes within the organization because now they have a mission, they have the route forward for that business to grow. And in my 30 years of experience of working with companies, it still shocks me today that I work with a well-established organization that when we speak to them, we go, oh my God, they are not clear on what they do.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I guess you could say, they used to say you could never be too rich or too thin. I'd say you could never be too clear. If you really look at the subject of consciousness, which I know you're quite an expert in, interviewed over 300 people on the subject, but could we say that about 80% of what we call consciousness is clarity? Clarity and categorization is about 80% of what we call consciousness. And the things we want to be most conscious of in our business are the things that leverage us the most. And it's generally like if a little bit is good, a lot is better, right? If you find that follow-up is improving, how about you become a master at follow-up instead of just okay at it, right? If you determine that people are giving up too quickly, how about if you make follow-up your brand? Take anything, your weakness that you've identified that needs to be clear and put everything you have on clarifying it. Think about it. Clarifying is like high fidelity, right? Good sound versus scratchy sound. You might like the scratchy sound for the nostalgia of it, but we want the high fidelity music, right? The best we have. That's the kind of clarity that you want to convey to the marketplace when you want your customers to know you truly care about them and you don't just say that. Boy, you better be asking yourself, how can we be so super clear on that? We wouldn't even have to say it. They can just feel it. This is the kind of question that you don't have an immediate answer to, but it is one that pursuing provokes a much more healthy organization and response with respect, particularly to our favorite word, communication.
Do you want to stop selling and start truly growing your business? Check out our free resources. Attract the right clients and close more deals and elevate your business to the next level. Visit joedalton.ie. We're here to make it happen. Let's grow together. When a company is clear in everything that they do, some sort of magic happens. The business takes off. The feeling within inside the organization as well changes because everyone then finds that they have a purpose. One of the organizations we were working with in business since 1970, only when working with ourselves, discovered what they actually really do.
Can you give us the essence of the distinction that was made there?
The distinction was that a software development company working and had a great product, great customer service, but they were never clear on actually what they do. And when we went through the process with them, they discovered that they help their clients the truth in the data. So their data doesn't lie, it tells them the truth so they can make better decisions and become more profitable.
So let me see if I have this straight in this example. So this is a excellent company with probably great referrals and word of mouth business and all of that, and does really good work, but it never called it the truth before we came in and analyzed what's actually going on here and what's the ultimate benefit and the ultimate value. And so now they could have clarity on the fact that they're really selling truth, not data.
Yes. And what happened within the organization, because they were clear on their message, confidence kicked in.
I want to ask you a question as an experienced consultant and coach and mentor. Why is the essence of what a company does in the example you just mentioned so elusive to founders and business owners who are inside the business?
Too close to the running of it. And I always find that when you're too close to something, you miss the smallest things. And it always takes someone from the outside to look in, to ask the right questions, to do the right testing, to understand what is happening externally and internally, and join the dots. Because what we do, we uncover the blind spots and we help them with better communication. So that's what we did. As we say, marketing is not enough. We're a communications company. And then that truth start working right through their messaging, through their campaigns, through their programming, through their customer service, everything from that one single word, which helped them understand what their essence was.
It does answer my question. Let's reinforce this with another example. We once had a company in financial services that was doing things quite early on with AI before AI was known to be what AI is, with algorithmic trading, very complex. And what we found is that the company's clients loved everything they had, but it was very hard for new clients, prospects to understand. It required enormous amounts of explanation for them to get the heart of what this algorithmic trading could really do. and the team ultimately came together to, similarly to the example you just mentioned, is that ultimately what really was being provided by use of this algorithmic trading was a much higher level of trust in the results. And if you think about it, that's sort of the opposite of foreign technology that you haven't used before. You're highly mistrustful of it, or mistrustful of yourself to be able to use it effectively. All those unknowns come into play. And so when we framed it around the fact that the use of this technology would help them build more trust in what they were investing in, it completely changed the game. I'll throw in a plug here for Oren Klaff, who's the author of Pitch Anything. And he raises money as an investment banker for infrastructure, big multi-$100 million deals, so to speak. And he's also a student of neuroscience. He says he's an amateur neuroscientist, which means he spends enormous amounts of money as a really powerful hobby of his, talking to the best people in the field. And so Pitch Anything is a culmination of those two things. And he simplistically defines the fact that when we look at something brand new, our animal brain is making a connection with it. Can I eat it? Can it threaten me? Can I mate with it? All these sort of things that instantaneously go on of that initial response. He said, and then we start digging into the subject in detail, and our neocortex comes into play and starts seeing all that fine detail. And we end up thinking that the fine detail is so much more fascinating than our initial response. Now we're 10 years into it, and we want to show people all that detail and skip what that was at the beginning, that initial gut reaction that we had. Because trust, for example, or as we were just talking about, confidence, or any of these things that may seem initially vague, are what draw us in, so that then we can actually look at that neocortex detail. It's about fine distinctions. And in order for us to be professional, we have to have higher distinctions than the amateur would have. In other words, if I'm a mechanic, I understand car engines very differently than if I'm merely a driver. Like, you open up the hood, I have no idea what's going on. I'll just say that publicly. Okay. But when a mechanic is going to look at a car from this period of time, that period of time, between a German car and a Japanese car, an American car, those are fine distinctions that mechanic must know because his profession depends on it. So when you come up with an essence, like, we're all about trust, we're all about agreement, we're all about legacy, we're all about whatever we think our product ultimately is about, we need to be experts in that. We need to make the finest distinctions in that, because that's what's going to make us stand out from the competition.
Yeah. And one of the other things I want to just mention as we wrap up this on clarity, when you are very clear on what you do, you also need to look at the monetary value of how you are helping or saving your client. Being clear on what you do, and then allowing your client to understand that the offer that you have will help them in some monetary value.
I think what you're raising here really points out that anybody listening to us right now, no matter what aspect of the business that they're in, they are selling time and they're selling clarity, right? Even if your business is not all about clarity and what you're providing clarity to your clients so that they can do more business, and telling them that overtly and expressly. I'm here to save you time and help you be clear about what it is you're doing. That in of itself now gives a reason for the products or services or technology or whatever it may be to reach that expression, right? And I'll end this with, was heavily influenced by a group of social entrepreneurs in the 90s. We had a flip chart from a workshop we used to do, and it said clarity leads to power. Clarity leads to power. And power is simply the ability to get things done. So if you have more power, you have more ability to get things done. And if you have more power, even more ability to get things done. And clarity precedes every increase in power, capability to get things done at every stage of your business.
Yeah, we leave it there because we have so much more to talk about as well.
Getting it wrong to get it right.